Hello, everyone. My name is Nate Reitman. I'm the product marketing manager for the Laerdal Medical Emergency and Trauma portfolio. I'm thrilled that you're all joining us today for our product showcase of the SimMan 3G Plus. Before we get started, I just want to run through a few housekeeping items to ensure that the time that we spend together is as enjoyable as possible and that you can learn as much as possible in our short hour together. We know you may have some questions about the products and the solutions that are featured today. And we definitely encourage you to submit all those questions into the Q&A feature of the Zoom. We're going to do our best to answer as many of those questions as we can during our time together. However, if for any reason you need to jump off or head to another meeting, we will distribute the recording of this event shortly thereafter via email. In today's session, we're going to show you what is new and improved with the latest version of the SimMan 3G by covering the key differences between 3G and 3G Plus. Additionally, we're going to be highlighting advanced skills training options enabled by the 3G platform for advanced respiratory care training all the way through point of care critical ultrasound training. We hope that today's session helps you think a little bit about different ways to help train and prepare the next generation of healthcare providers to deal with those high emergency, high trauma scenarios that our frontline workers are encountered with on a day-to-day basis. Laerdal is committed to providing learners with the tools and solutions to help build your skills and competence as the journey continues. We also want to help demonstrate stronger clinical judgment and provide high quality patient care to a diverse range of patients, just as they would in a real healthcare environment. To start, our product expert, Carl Rubin, will give a head-to-toe overview of the exciting new features the 3G Plus platform has to offer. We're then going to introduce our newest solution in the ultrasound training space, which is the Laerdal Sonosim Ultrasound Solution 2.0. And finally, we don't want to close out this session without knowing what's on your mind. As we mentioned earlier, we're going to try to get to as many of the questions as we can. So please submit them as they come up in your head. Now, to get started, I'm going to hand it off to Carl Rubin, the Senior Product Manager for the SimMan portfolio here at Laerdal. He will walk us through a clinical overview of the 3G Plus platform. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. So we're happy to announce and present our brand new addition in the Laerdal family. So this is SimMan 3G Plus. There's been a long story for the SimMan brothers, and over the years there's been incremental changes and sometimes bigger releases. This is a bigger release, and today I'll go through some of the new features and the new additions on SimMan 3G Plus. So as before, this is a multi-purpose mannequin. It has many of the similar capabilities, features, as you know and love from 3G. And what we think and hope is some new and delightful features. So we'll go through those. As before, SimMan 3G Plus is designed for immersive and realistic training. So part of the focus for this new mannequin is to prepare for and adhere to use of clinical equipment. And I'll go more detailed into that when we get to the individual features. So starting with the visual aspects, what you can see immediately is that there's a brand new face on SimMan 3G Plus. It's now made in a different type skin compared to the previous one. So the visual aspects and the details of the face is a lot more realistic and more lifelike. And it gives us a couple of other advantages when it comes to kind of the touch and feel and in general the visual part of it. It also adds flexibility so that the skin has a more natural movement. Some of the other benefits of the new face is that you can see some of the details in the face where you before had the open ports for the fluid functions. Now you can barely see that there is any function or any opening at all. Eivind, could you please turn on some fluids, some sweat, for instance? So now you can see in the forehead here, there's fluids coming out. And can you also turn on the tears? So you can see now tears forming. So we think this is it's a huge improvement compared to the previous solution. We're also planning down the line to release more faces to give you as a user more diversity into the mannequin. The first we will be releasing now in Q1 is a geriatric face. And it will also come in the 3 previously mentioned skin tones. The other new aspect, which is not only visual, is that we now have new ears on the face skin. So it's possible now to attach a nasal cannula, and I'll demonstrate that. So you can see that the ears now have the possibility to attach the tube behind it so that you can correctly place the cannula. So this was an issue with the previous version of 3G. In addition to that, there's some changes on the mouth part. So you can see that the mouth is not as wide as before, so it looks more natural, but it still gives you the same possibilities and ability to do airway management tasks, like, for instance, intubation. And I'll quickly show. So the inner airway of SimMan has the same features as before. So you can still see all the nice details, and by lifting the tongue, I can now see the vocal cords, and hopefully, yep, here we go. Good. So right now, for my convenience, I've added no issues to do this intubation. So as you can see, it was relatively easy. But we have plenty of possibilities to create a difficult airway. And as you can see on the LEAP screen, there are many choices where you can click on different aspects of the anatomy to inflate different types of bladders to create a advanced or less advanced airway. So a pretty good functionality there. Okay. Another aspect of the silicone skin is that the silicone gives better connectivity to the silicone part of the BVM. So by now it's more easy than before to get the proper seal around the mouth when you're doing bagging. So, and you can also see chest rise, and that the mannequin is reacting to the inflations. Okay, so I think that sums up the face part. So over to the new arms. There's a brand new set of arms on SimMan 3G Plus with several improvements. All features, functions are bilateral, meaning that you can do any procedure on either side of the mannequin. Also, you can see there's added a lot of articulation on the arm. So compared to the previous one, which was stiff and not as articulate, this arm can now bend in the elbow. There's rotation in the overarm and in the shoulder joint. There's also flexibility in the wrists. So all in all, it allows for a much more natural normal articulation of the arm. You can also use it with an automated compression machine, like for instance, the Lucas device. So now you can attach the hands on top of the device and kind of do the proper procedure. So those are all great benefits. You can also see on the underside of the arm, there's a zipper all the way at the length of the arm. So that allows for easy operation of the arm if you need to change any of the parts, or for some reason it's to change the skin. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's a couple of new and improved features on the arm, and one of them is new pulses. We've created new types of pulses. They are, I would say, more correctly placed, so you can feel the pulse on the forearm, and there's also a brachial pulse added on the upper arm. And the pulse is now positioned such that if you kind of rotate the arm, the pulse will still continue to be in the correct location. So that's also an improvement compared to the previous arm. So in addition to that, we have improved and added some functionality on the IV. Okay, so I'll quickly go over to demonstrate the new IV function. And so it's better for the view, changing the angle slightly. So as you can see on the arm, so there is a pre-ported site for where you introduce the IV. But what's different now is that this is a port where you actually can use a real needle and insert into the arm and add fluids into the syringe. So you can hang up an IV drip. You can also see the area around the actual port is a bit more shiny now. And that's because I've added a patch on the silicone skin to allow for fastening tape. It's an issue to attach tape on silicone skin, and this is a solution to kind of counterfeit that. As you can see here, when you insert the needle, you will feel resistance when you get to the underlying silicone part here, and I need to push through that silicone part, and then I can draw back and continue the correct placement of the needle, and then attach with the correct tegaderm. So all in all, this allows for a better simulation because of the because you now need to kind of find the right equipment, you have to do the procedure, and it takes the needed time to fulfill the procedure. So while we're here, just wanted to show you there's a new convulsion in SimMan 3G, which has some improvements. So Eivind, could you please turn on the convulsions, please? So now you can see a more lifelike and natural movement of the arm. So thank you. Also on the new arms, there's a area for I/O and IM, a generous pad here where you can perform multiple injections with the IM. So the silicone skin is such that there will be no visible marks. So let me demonstrate. As I mentioned, this whole area, you can feel the landmarks and you can kind of feel where the muscle is supposed to be. And you can insert here, and you can retract and insert fluids up to 10 to 15 milliliters. Then you can take out the pad, clean it, dry it, or replace it, and continue. Same with the I/O function. If you palpate, you can feel the landmark of the humeral bone, which is drillable. So let me demonstrate. You can feel the bone underneath now. And by doing that, you can also add fluids on the I/O port, and all the fluids, both from IV, IM, and the I/O, is escaping the mannequin in the ports under the arm here. So those can be attached to a drain bag where you can collect the fluids. So just going to mention while we're here, as I said, the zipper, the whole length of the arm. I will open it now so you can see the underlying part for the shoulder pad. So if I take this aside, you can see this foam pad, which is the IM area. So this can be taken out. And under the foam pad, you can see the I/O bone. This one can also be taken out. And you can now see the one hole from where I drilled. So if you're going to do this as a vet procedure, you need a new bone each time you're using fluids. Or you can repair the existing bone, which is very easy. It's just one drop of normal super glue, and it's repaired. So you can use the bone multiple times. But it is, of course, important that you don't add fluids into the arm without the proper spare parts. And it's easy to assemble and put the pieces back in its place. So attaching the I/O bone, pushing in the foam for the IM pad, like that, and ensuring that the proper connections are on the underside of the silicone skin, and then close the zipper. So while on the subject of penetrating the skin, there's capped and slightly improved the neckband, and obviously under the neckband you have the ability to do tracheostomy as a feature we've had before. Okay. So there's 2 additional new features on the arms that we are very pleased with. So that's the SpO2 function and the non-invasive blood pressure. So it's automated. Again, this feature is on both arms. So I'm going to turn on my clinical monitor. And without any other attachments or any other equipment, you use a standard SpO2 probe, attach on the finger of the mannequin, and you can see there's a small window on each index finger that has a signal that is received by the probe and detected as a normal, like a patient signal. So I will attach the SpO2 probe on the finger, like that. And so you can immediately see that there's a Platt curve appearing on the monitor. And now the SpO2 is measured to 97. So the patient is running in a healthy mode, a start state. So as I mentioned, SpO2 and non-invasive blood pressure. So there's a new functionality on the arm to measure, and you can use automated blood pressure. Just gonna silence this one. You're using a standard clinical BP cuff, but there is one modification to a standard cuff. So this one is included in the accessories of the simulator, and the only difference from a standard clinical cuff is this additional tube. So This tube goes into a port on the inside of the arm of the simulator. Except that tube, everything is run like you would do in any clinical situation. So I'm attaching this tube, and then I'm placing the cuff on the arm. Like this. And as you can see on the LEAP screen now, the vital signs of the patient is set to blood pressure 120/80. So I'll use the clinical monitor to check that this is correct. So I'll run a blood pressure here. So now there's technology in the arm that kind of tells the monitor what the BP is set to. And within LEAP, all these parameters, all the vital signs can be changed and detected by the monitor. So this is it's a big improvement and a neat change compared to the old arms. There will also be a possibility, of course, to interchange the arms. So if needed, if you want to use the drug recognition system, or if you want to do manual blood pressure through Kortokov sounds, it is possible to attach the old arms on SimMan 3G+. So you can have both functionalities. So looking at the monitor now, you can see that it has detected the blood pressure of the patient to be 119/83. So that's very close to what the vital signs are set to. So a nice feature there. So let me just remove these ones. And we're going to talk about the new torso skin. So there is a, let me just turn this off. There's a new torso skin on SimMan 3G+, but it's still in the same material as before. What's new is the live shock studs. So you can see these two gold discs on the mannequin. Live shock, meaning that you can use any type defibrillator, pads or paddles to deliver a real shock to the patient. So that would be using your normal crash cart and do your simulations with that. ECG can be detected through these pads, so you can do cardioversion and pacing. And by attaching the pads, you can read the rhythm of the patient. So let me just attach pads to demonstrate. I'll switch on my defibrillator. I'll place the pads and making sure that you have good conductivity on the pad itself, like that. So by switching on the AED then, you can see a rhythm on the screen. It will detect the shock. So now Eivind will put the patient into a cardiac arrest. So you'll see a asystole. And when I deliver the shock like this, you can now see in LEAP that the heart frequency or the rhythm is back to normal. So that's how you use that system. And it's nice to have the ability to use a real clinical system. There's also a possibility to downgrade to the standard skin if you prefer to use training equipment to do defibrillation scenarios. So both options are possible. Okay, I'm going to remove this. So LEAP is obviously done in connection with the network, and we have now a new networking solution on SimMan 3G+. We have replaced the white router, which previously has been an internal part of SimMan. The router is replaced with a Wi-Fi dongle, and that gives us some additional benefits. It has a more modern architecture, so it adheres to new protocols and a more stable communication. In addition, the white router creates its own ad hoc network, which for some customers has been a security concern. So this one is now removed and, as I mentioned, replaced by the Wi-Fi dongle. The Wi-Fi dongle operates as such that the mannequin becomes an access point. So it will connect to an existing network in your environment, like any other device that you're using. This gives additional benefits so that the mannequin can be online all the time. You can receive updates and you will experience a more stable connectivity to your network. And it doesn't take away the ability and option to continue to use a router solution. So it is possible to purchase a Laerdal router that you can have on the outside of the mannequin and connect the mannequin to this router. And this router can be a stationary router if you are doing in-house simulation, or it can be an operated router if you need to do or want to do simulation outside of your premises or in situ. In totality, a more flexible, more reliable, and more modern solution for connectivity. So that concludes the practical demonstration of SimMan 3G+.
Excellent. Well, I always learn a lot hearing from Carl Rubin, so thanks again for that wonderful overview. I hope you all learned a lot as well, getting the overview and getting a peek into the key updates with this new technology that we offer with SimMan 3G+. Hopefully, the idea wheels are starting to turn, and maybe you're starting to think of some ways you can train your learners on this advanced patient simulator. One of the key benefits of the SimMan platform is its ability to expand the training capabilities depending on your specific learning needs. We have further solutions for advanced respiratory care training, the ability to utilize real clinical devices, and even perform point-of-care ultrasound training. What I'd like to do now is to introduce everyone to Danny Bielitz, our Director of Business Development, who's going to walk us through an update to an exciting new product in our portfolio, the Laerdal SonoSim Ultrasound Solution, or LSUS 2.0. Turn it over to Danny.
Hi, I'm Danny, and I'm really looking forward to introducing you to our new Laerdal SonoSim Ultrasound Solution 2.0 product. This new product is actually an extension of our current Laerdal SonoSim Ultrasound Solution product, but I guess one of the key differences is we've actually introduced new flexibility and also taken the opportunity to introduce a new interface as well. It was developed in partnership with SonoSim, who are recognised world leaders in ultrasound training and education. And what we've done is taken their unique technology, which is the use of real-life ultrasound images, and implemented that into our simulations. So then that way you have the ability to introduce point-of-care ultrasound as a part of your simulation. Okay, so let's have a look at the room setup. So we have a SimMan 3G Plus simulator. He's being connected to and driven by the LEAP software on this particular PC. We have another PC that has the Laerdal SonoSim Ultrasound Solution 2.0 software loaded on it. Connected to that is the probe. And what we've done, just for the purpose of this particular demonstration, is we've actually mirrored that particular image onto the screen behind me. I appreciate that the image probably won't be that clear during this particular webinar, but what we'll do is when we actually go and actually manipulate the heart rate and respiratory rate, we'll actually take close-ups of the screen so you'll be able to see those. So again, just to explain, I guess the basics of the Laerdal SonoSim ultrasound solution concept. So underneath the skin, we have tags that are located that actually tell the probe what images to load. So as an example, if we have a look at the patient's right chest, so if I scan the right chest, we'll see that we pick up the right lung that's there, and we can sort of see the sliding. And of course, I can go across to the patient's left lung and again acquire the image and see it there. And if we were to take a look at the subcostal, we can just manipulate the image there, and there we can pick up a good view of the actual heart. And of course, with a trauma scenario, because it's based on EFAST, we have the ability to scan the left and right chest, subcostal, suprapubic, and also the left and right upper quadrant. So now let's have a look at how we can actually manipulate both the heart rate and the respiratory rate. So to do that, we actually make the changes on the LEAP PC. So if we come across now onto the LEAP PC, and currently the heart rate is running at 76. So if I click on that numerical value, that will bring up the window that I'll be able to change the heart rate. If I now slide that up to 180, and if we set that to trend over a period of 40 seconds, and then select OK, we can see on the interface that we now have that trend running. If I come back with the ultrasound probe and then acquire the image of the heart, what we'll be able to see is actually that heart rate increase up to 180 that's set on LEAP. So you can see there that the heart rate's getting quite a lot faster now. And then just as an example, just to show, so that was sort of going from 76 to 180. Let's now do another example where we're going to slow the heart rate down. So we'll click on the heart rate. Again, we'll slow it down to around 20 beats per minute. We'll set that again to run over about 40 seconds and then select OK. And then if we acquire the image again of the heart, this time what we'll see is we'll see the image go from a fast heart rate down to the 20 that we have selected. Okay, so now let's just have an example of the respiratory rate. So the respiratory rate, obviously we'll see sliding. So now if I acquire the image, we can see we have a respiratory rate set of 20. So now if I go to the LEAP interface again, and I select that numerical value, and let's take that up to around 60, and let's do that again. This time we'll do it over 20 seconds and select OK. Now when we acquire the image, we'll be able to see the lung sliding there, go from a rate of 20 up to 60 over the selected period of time. Okay. Now let's take the respiratory rate again. We'll select it, and this time we'll go from the rate of 60 down to around 10. We'll do that again over 20 seconds. We'll select OK. Once again, I'll acquire the image, and we'll be able to see the lung sliding there start to slow down to the rate that we have set over the period of time. You'll notice when you look at the ultrasound screen, as far as the new interface, we still have the normal features that you would expect from an ultrasound machine, where you can control the depth, the gain, Doppler. We have the ability to flip and also freeze the image. We can also review. So one of the unique features about the ultrasound product is it is a training product as well. So we can select review, and we'll actually get an instructor pop up that will actually tell us exactly what we're seeing. So not only can it be used as a product within a simulation, it can also be used to teach about how to actually acquire the image and also what it is that we're actually seeing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Danny, for giving us such a robust overview of the Laerdal SonoSim Ultrasound Solution 2.0. We did have a few questions come in while you're going through that. So if we don't mind just kind of doubling back, I think these are a couple really poignant ones to help us out here. So the first question is, what is the biggest difference between the previous version of Laerdal SonoSim Ultrasound Solution and LSUS 2.0?
So I guess the biggest differences between LSUS and LSUS 2.0 is really around an enhanced user experience. And I guess that experience, allows you to more closely approximate scanning or use of a real life ultrasound machine. I think the second part is that ability to create the on-the-fly scenario, so that flexibility, which will probably allow ultrasound to better fit the educational goals of our end users. So that would be the main things. It would certainly be the new interface and also that increased flexibility of being able to control the heart rate and also the respiratory rate.
All right, thanks so much, Danny, for answering that one for us. Another question that just came in, besides the new interface, where do you think users will find the most benefit in using LSUS 2.0?
So for the learners, I guess the actual opportunity that it presents is really about introducing point of care ultrasound as a part of their decision-making process when we're actually running a simulation. So when they're involved, if it's a trauma patient as an example, they can actually take an EFAST assessment and have a look at the left and right chest and also the heart and the upper and right quadrants, look for blood. And of course that might change or confirm their particular treatment pathway. So I think having real pathology within the actual simulation, so when they actually scan the case they can see it, and of course that flexibility that the operator has to be able to change the heart rate and respiratory rate could certainly make for a dynamic experience for the participant, but also improve patient outcomes as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that answer. The last question we have before we'll let you go, what happens to existing LSUS customers should they choose not to upgrade to the 2.0 version?
So if a customer decides not to upgrade to the new 2.0, they'll still have exactly the same capabilities that they have today on their current product. The only thing that they won't have is the new interface or that flexibility in regards to being able to control both the heart rate and also respiratory rate.
Wonderful. Thanks so much to Danny for giving us that great overview of the LSUS 2.0. One other thing I wanted to get to before the Q&A section is just a quick overview of the interchangeable face skins that have been discussed throughout this presentation. We're really excited to roll out the first interchangeable face skin for this simulator, which are the geriatric face skins. We have 3 skin tones to match each of the different skin tones offered with SimMan 3G+, light, medium, and dark. And those are easily taken off in just about 2 minutes and swapped onto the existing simulator. This is a great benefit we hope for your programs to have one simulator that can easily have different accessories to quickly change the look and presentation of the core simulator. At a glance, you can have a mannequin that resembles a geriatric patient, enabling heightened diversity training in your programs. Now, at this point, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the Q&A section. I want to introduce Meg Miller, who is one of our lead educational specialists with Laerdal, and she's going to be helping us out with some of your clinical questions. To start, we had a couple of questions come in regarding the network connectivity solutions with SimMan 3G+. So just to kind of recap that a little bit, the internal router that used to come with the SimMan lineup now comes with a Wi-Fi dongle. So that Wi-Fi dongle no longer, it actually can it doesn't create the network, but it becomes an access point instead. So what this does is it allows a stable connection to an enterprise network. You can still hardwire the SimMan 3G+ to a network, and you can still use an external router. Say you're doing in situ trainings, you could still have that as well, and we offer a router for that as well. Our network services team is always available to discuss any of these solutions and help you set up your sim lab for the best success possible. We're going to be dropping a link to that in the chat if you would like to view the network services page and get connected with that team. One of the other questions we had come up, a few of them actually, regarding the interchangeable face skins. So I gave a brief highlight of the geriatric face skins. One of the things we did not mention is that the person who actually designs these face skins for this simulator used to work on the Game of Thrones set. If you follow us along on social media, you may have seen a story about that come across as well. But we want to turn it over to you all to help us figure out what is the next set of face skins that we'd like to hear about. So any feedback is always more than welcome on that. Additionally, on the face skin, I saw we had a couple of questions on changing it out, or if it's a true face skin or an overlay. So this is a true face skin, and what I mean by that is that we have fluid connections in here in the forehead and in the eyes as well. So if it was an overlay, you wouldn't get some of those fluid functions that you get with the true face skin that is offered with 3G+. We saw some other questions come across. Is this available for other parts of the simulator, other 3G lineup? This is exclusive to the 3G Plus only. Okay. Let's see, one other question that we had come in, Meg, maybe you could help us with this, is how does mechanical ventilation training work with the SimMan 3G Plus?
Well, one nice feature of the 3G series is they can be used with the ASL 5000, which is really made for training with ventilators, and you can train anybody from respiratory therapists to people in the OR. And during COVID, a lot of hospitals were training RN staff and other people to recognize ventilator emergencies. It actually replaces the lung function in the mannequin while you're using it, so that using the ASL 5000 technology, you'll actually be able to emulate the different kinds of things that a person would do if they were having a respiratory emergency.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
One of the other questions that came in, we had a couple of different ones come in around the arms and some of the feature sets on each of them. So Meg, do you want to just walk us through kind of how the arms work and what's new?
Yeah, so one thing I saw in the chat also was asking about the blood pressure cuff. The blood pressure cuff can be connected directly to the defibrillator or the machinery that you're using already. So if you already have a monitor that uses an automatic cuff, it can be used with that. One of the people asked if you could use it with a blood pressure with a nursing student who wanted to take manual blood pressure. The arms on the 3G Plus aren't made to do that specifically, but we offer an option that you can get an arm that can be retrofitted to it, and you can use it for that.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the great things about having the 3G Plus in the family now, is that the 3G arms from the previous generation 3G, they do fit onto the 3G. So if we've had a couple of other people say, well, what about the drug recognition features? You can still use that as long as you use the 3G arms. So same with the blood pressure as well.
You can also cannulate the arm using whatever appropriate syringe that you would use for a person. And what will happen is once you cannulate it, you can attach a saline lock and use it to administer medications. It still drains out the back of the arm. So you can catch it in a bag, an IV bag or something.
Excellent, thank you. Let's see, we had a couple of other questions come in. Oh, here's a great one. How many IOs can be done before the skin needs to be replaced?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. And people usually say that just before they say, I'm not positive of the answer for that. And we can certainly see if we've done any research on the number of IOs. But the IOs on the tibia that we had on our regular SimMan 3G could take quite a few before it had to be replaced. So I would say you'd have to really look at your own experience with it, and we would be happy to research that for you and get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Another question that came in is regarding patient monitors. So what patient monitors are compatible with the SimMan 3G Plus?
Well, Pretty much any all-in-one monitor that we've had in the past for our SimMan series or our other mannequins will work. They're fantastic. But you can also, if you have the vitals bridge, use your regular OR monitor or your regular med-surg monitor right on the floor and use that to run simulations with the mannequins. So either way, you can use them.
Yeah, and we're proud to partner with Dynasthetics on the Vitals Bridge product as well. So that's where we have a couple of different versions and cable sets, but pretty much any of your clinical monitors, yeah, it goes right up to it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, let's see. What else did we have come up? Oh, here's a good one. Is there a range on the Wi-Fi dongle? So I can take that one actually. When they did the testing on these new Wi-Fi dongles, just to kind of double back on that network services piece that we talked about, they, as we know, a lot of sim labs can be in basements or through multiple walls. So is it going to connect necessarily to a Wi-Fi that's in a different room? We did test a lot of those different scenarios. I don't have a specific range for you, but we did do a lot of testing through very thick walls and multiple rooms across a large sim lab. So the connectivity we found to be much better and much more stable than that internal router.
And one of the questions was involved with routers. So somebody is used to using an external router. You answered that. You can still use your external router with the mannequin.
Excellent. Thank you. We also had a couple of questions come in regarding the live shock discs. So the live shock discs are in the anatomically correct positions in the anterolateral placement. Meg, do you want to walk us through training with live shock and how that's a little bit maybe different than what some people are used to?
Yeah, so normally you would be putting pads on that were training pads and had no live, shock going through them. But with live shock, if you put them over the discs, then there is a mechanism inside the mannequin that will take that shock and ground it out. So there's not going to be a electrical shock risk to your students.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question that came in is regarding the calibration process for the SpO2 finger and the NIBP. So as we kind of went over, you can use real clinical monitors or defibs for the measurement of both of those. And we actually have a drop-down menu in the LEAP software that one of our client executives would be more than happy to show you in person. But there's a drop-down and it'll basically go through all the major brands. And you just select the one that is closest to yours. And the calibration process has already been done. So it's a simple click, plug and play, and you'll have your vitals displayed on that monitor. Okay, let's see.
Female appearing faces.
That's a great question. Yeah, thank you for that feedback. As we continue to develop the face skins, we're definitely going to keep female face skins in mind. That's a great point. Thank you.
And there definitely is pupillary response to light. We've kept that. It's a very popular feature.
Absolutely. One other question, a couple questions on the ultrasound. It looks like someone said, can we change the cardiac ultrasound pathology? So in the SonoSim software, there are multiple different case sets. So we have critical care and cardiac care and trauma care. And in the cardiac care section, as of right now, we have 10 different scenarios that go with that ultrasound software there. We are always looking to develop more. And if there's specific pathologies that you all would like to see, let us know and we're more than happy to work with you on that as well.
Definitely. And now with the ultrasound, you may have heard that the heart rate and respiratory rate will coincide with the LEAP software. So they will look like they're coming from that patient.
Excellent. Let's see, the next question that we have coming in, can the 3G Plus do chest tubes? Meg, do you want to take that one?
Well, the 3G could take chest tubes, and in the side of the mannequin, we have this chest tube module. It's identical to the one that came with the regular 3G. So, and it can be used in the exact same way. So yes, the answer is yes.
Excellent, thank you. I see one other question on ultrasound. Is it currently compatible with nursing and simulator? Not at the moment, no, it is not compatible with nursing and simulator. Our ultrasound capabilities right now with the lineup are with the SimMan platform. So SimMan ALS, essential bleeding, trauma, all the SimMan brothers are ultrasound capable and ready. And the SimMan platform is the other one that comes with that. And you can do ultrasound training on late stage and early stage pregnancy cases with SimMan as well. Okay, I see one other one. Is there any way to enlarge the prostate for practicing Foley placements? That's a new one I haven't heard before. That's a great point of feedback we'll take back. I believe the answer to that is no at the moment, unfortunately.
That is correct.
Okay, let me see. So another question about the interchangeable face skins. Great question here. They mentioned that there were 3 different skin tones for the interchangeable face skins. Does that mean the whole body of 3G Plus comes in 3 skin tones? Yes. So the current setup is that you can either order light, medium, or dark for your 3G Plus. And those interchangeable face skins, the geriatric ones, also are applicable in those matching skin tones as well. All right, another question comes up on live shock. Since we are shocking with real live pads, does the simulator need to be grounded to discharge, or is there a built-in system that discharges the current? I believe you answered that one, but if you want to just rehash it for us.
Built into the system, it grounds right into the mannequin, and you don't need to do a separate grounding of the mannequin.
Excellent. Let's see. Any other questions come up here? Oh, Meg, do you mind walking us through the benefits of the silicone skin and how that can help with training?
Yes, definitely. So anybody who's had, one of the older generation mannequins has known that, if you use a pen or anything near the mannequin, it seems to be a magnet for that type of, pinpoint stains and that kind of thing. So this silicone skin is very forgiving. I don't recommend writing on it, but if it does accidentally get some sort of a mark on it from a pen or something like that, you can rub it off. You can actually even rub it off just with your finger. They're very cleanable. The other thing is when you are inserting a needle, as you would when you went to put in an IO into the mannequin's humerus, it actually kind of sort of comes in on itself. So it's very forgiving in that way too. You won't get a million little holes in it that are obvious to the students. The one thing as far as adhesives go, some of the adhesives, if they don't stick well, we actually ship them with a double-sided tape that causes it to stick to the skin.
Thanks, Meg. And yeah, the silicone parts of this simulator are the face, where you would likely see a lot of that moulage, and the arms. So those are the 2 places that we've added silicone to just improve that patient handling as well. We have a question on battery life. Is the battery life improved on 3G Plus, or is it the same as 3G? I don't know that anything has changed with the battery specifically, but one factor to note is that without that internal router being powered, that may lead to some improvements as well.
True.
I think we had one other question. Let me go back up and see that. It was regarding something that I missed. Let me keep looking here 1 second. But please keep the questions coming in. We're more than happy to see all the excitement around this. Is there a way to project the heart sounds so that others in the room can hear it as well? That's a great question.
Yeah, wonderful question. It's not available with just the SimMan 3G Plus, but there are products available which you can research on the internet that will amplify the sound coming out of his chest the same way it would if it was a human being. The one thing that I'll say is the auscultation focus feature is fantastic. It will cause the chest to stop rising, so you won't get the mannequin noise, if you will, and you can hear the pure lung and heart sounds if you use that type of device.
Wonderful. Thanks, Meg. Another question that came in was regarding the convulsions. So the convulsions on 3G Plus are actually improved a good bit to look more realistic. So that is a new feature to the 3G Plus line as opposed to the 3G line. One other question I see came in. All right, can you check the distal pulses to the lower body? And are there any wounds that can be added? We have a double question there. So yeah, SimMan 3G Plus has some of the most extensive pulse points of any simulator in our lineup. So we have pulses all the way up from the carotid, the whole way down through the dorsalis pedis pulses. You even have the popliteal pulses in the back of the leg, radial pulses, brachial pulses, femoral pulses. Am I missing one here, Meg?
No, I think you pretty much hit them all.
Great. And the second question about wounds. So yeah, SimMan 3G Plus can bleed and bleed either in an arterial or venous fashion. We do have smaller wound modules that can be attached and added on to different parts of the skin. We also have trauma limbs. So we have trauma limbs in the arms and the legs that are either amputations or gunshot wounds, and they get a little realistic and graphic at points, but we like to heighten the realism of those sims as well.
Yes, we do.
All right, another question I see. One layer painted tegaderm for moulage. Will there be an issue with it sticking to the skin?
Well, the one nice thing about the silicone skin is it is realistic, but it also doesn't have too much stickiness to it. So if you do have any kind of an adhesive, it won't stick as much. The other side of that is you will have to use sometimes a double-sided gel that we sell with him to stick certain types of moulage onto him.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Meg. And wow, I can't believe it. It looks like our time together is coming to a close here. So I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for your questions and for your feedback. We really appreciate it, and we want to keep that conversation going. So please keep us in the loop. Feel free to reach out to us or your local client executive as well. I also wanted to thank Carl Rubin, Danny, and Meg in particular for her knowledge and help with our presentation today. To close out, I just kind of want to take us all back and think about how important critical care training is. And advanced training on critical care procedures and practices, we really hope that when you think about that, you think of the training solutions in respiratory, ultrasound, or other critical care fields that might come into play there as well. We hope that when you think about that, you turn to SimMan 3G Plus to help answer that call, or to Laerdal as a whole, and we're happy to work with you to determine what solutions work best. You will receive a recording of this email, or of this presentation rather, via email in the coming days. Additionally, if we were not able to answer your questions live today, we'll work with you to get those questions answered. If you're interested in learning more about any of the products that we covered today, you can visit the URLs that are going to be dropped in the chat. With that, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and thanks again for joining us here.